Well, the mission to get Australians and our helpers out of Afghanistan is over. About 4,000 people have been airlifted out. So is there anything beyond shoulder-shrugging resignation that we can offer those left behind? Simon Smart is Executive Director of the Centre for Public Christianity, and he's written on this. So, mate, I want to ask you two main questions. Should we and can we do more? So, first one's first, mate. Should we do more?
Hi, Bill. Look, I think we should. I think it's such a desperate situation, such a brutal regime that really doesn't tolerate any dissent. I think women and girls especially are looking at a huge retrograde step in terms of their status and education, freedom to flourish, all those sorts of things. It's a really serious situation people find themselves in now. I do think we have a responsibility when we're faced with fellow human beings in such dire circumstances to do whatever we can to offer protection and hospitality and welcome.
Because I was going to ask you, do you base what you're saying on the ethics of this situation or on this country's apparent Christian values?
Well, it's human values, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
if you wouldn't have to share that faith to recognize the humanity, the common humanity. I mean, I've seen you, Bill, helping people out even this week, and I must say I was really encouraged by at least one story of someone who was in a terrible, thought his wife and child were going to be lost there, but they were rescued. That was a lovely story. We've seen a few of those, haven't we?
Yes,
And
mate.
I think
Yeah.
this is when we see, what I love is when we appeal to our better nature.
Yeah. We
Let's
need
appeal
that
to
in this
that,
time, don't we?
not to our fearfulness, not to our smallness. And we're all capable of that. We're capable of selfishness. I know I am. But when someone appeals to our better nature, where we have a big heart.
Now, the government would trumpet the number of 4,000 already evacuated. But really, in the light of the 100,000 Vietnamese that Malcolm Fraser brought here, do you reckon it's enough?
I just feel like we can do more. We've had some good moments. You mentioned that, the Vietnamese coming here under Fraser. Even beyond that, the Chinese students with
Bob
Bob
Hawke?
Hawke after Tiananmen Square, Syrian refugees fleeing ISIS. These were all situations where people were in real serious need.
Yeah.
And we opened our hearts and welcomed people. And this is the sort of thing I reckon, Bill, if we did act with a kind of lavish welcome, it might be something we'd come to look at in years ahead with real pride.
Because you say we owe a lavishly generous moral covenant to those who are at risk. So why us, mate, and why do we owe it?
Well, if you think of all the benefits we experience here, not through any thing we've done to deserve it, but we have a country where we're blessed really with prosperity and safety, education. We have an awful lot here that we ought to be grateful for. I think when you have an attitude of gratitude towards perhaps God, but just for your own circumstances, it should open your heart to people who don't have the same as you. And gosh, these people are in need. And they're not only, I mean, it's terrible how many people are going to be left behind and not be able to get out, but people have been fleeing Afghanistan. They're going to be in other countries and in refugee camps around the world. There's a number there that we could offer. And I think what we've seen so far hasn't been anything like what we could be capable of. I think a lot of Australians would look at that and think, actually, we could do a bit more here.
I'm talking with Simon Smart, the Executive Director of the Centre for Public Christianity. Now, let's come to part two of this question, Simon. Can we do more? Because people would argue we've got lots of problems of our own here now. And so can we afford to take in thousands more refugees?
You can't escape the real questions around capacity. So it's true, we've got to look at that. It's true we have serious problems of our own at the moment with the pandemic, and of course that's something to factor into this, I guess. But it's when the house is on fire, Bill, you don't sit around sort of doing a kind of assessment of cost benefit. You just act and then you kind of work it out later. And hard heads will tell me, come on, you can't be like that. But at the moment, this is such a serious situation. I do feel like it is a bit like that, actually. I think we can.
Because you've expressed a sense of astonishment that bringing in more of them ought to even be controversial.
Yes, and again, I just say let's have leadership. I'd love for this sort of leadership where, again, appealing to a better nature in me. And I do think actually that Australians are capable of this sort of lavish generosity and welcome. A lot of it comes down to fear and of the unknown. But once you've sort of been exposed to the humanity of the person who's in need, it's hard to turn away. And I think, Bill, we put our kind of collective soul in danger when we turn away. I think there's a cost to that as well. So yes, there's a cost in bringing people in. You need to do it well, and you need to have infrastructure for that. But there's a cost if we sort of brush it aside now and look the other way.
20 years after refugees were turned into a political weapon on the Tampa, do you think we need to depoliticise them and remove the controversy?
Gee, it'd be good if we could, wouldn't it? Because look, people on both sides of politics, good people have tried and sort of failed really to come up with a great solution to a solution to this puzzle, I guess, of what's the best way to go about this and how many people and so on. But I do think it's a massive blockage in the way it's so politicized. And if there was a way, perhaps the pandemic's a way. Is this the moment, Bill, where we just go, as we
Yeah.
deal with this pandemic, is this the moment where we kind of reset?
Yeah, I was going to ask, when we reach the end of the pandemic, could there be an opportunity to reassess the way we think of refugees in this country? To remove the tabloid stereotypes, perhaps?
Absolutely. And there's so many great stories. I know you have, and I've experienced them too, of fabulous stories of a kind of life-giving thing where someone's come in a really desperate situation. They've come to this country and been welcomed and done really well and been a massive contributor to their community. There's so many of those stories. Perhaps we just need to hear more and more of those, because
Perhaps
I do
we
think
do.
that can shift the mindset when it comes to what is a really politicised issue.
God bless you, mate, and thanks so much for talking to us tonight.
Always good to chat, Bill. Thanks so much.